Mahalo everybody, Big Daddy here, Big Dick Ballistics, coming at you today with reloads. So over the years, you go to the range, and if you get any kind of in-service training, or you're seeking training outside of the job, or whatever, you're being a responsibly armed citizen, just looking to better yourself behind the gun, you go to these trainings and they talk about gross motor skills and fine motor skills, and usually that'll come into play when they talk about reloads. So when it comes to reloads, they talk about using, 4 fingers over the top or pinching the back of the slide. All these techniques are fine. They're totally fine. They're positive. They ensure that you got enough kinetic energy going forward to chamber that round. But the other side of the coin is this. Most of these instructors are saying that a magazine release or magazine catch is a gross motor skill and a slide release or slide catch is a fine motor skill. If you have an instructor telling you that this button versus this button is a fine motor skill versus a gross motor skill, they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. You have to make your quote-unquote fine motor skill your gross motor skill, and that's why you have to train accordingly. Now, recently, I've been teaching civilians on the side with these CCW classes in New York State, and I've seen old dogs come out of the woodwork and put forth their best effort to teach, but their training stopped years ago, and they did nothing outside of their employment right now to better themselves. You always have to be training outside of work, getting the latest and greatest information to stay proficient in your craft, your field, whatever. So the explanation was that chambering this from a slide catch is not as good as pulling back and letting it go under its own weight. Now, the reasoning I heard somebody say this is because from here to here, which is about less than 1/4 inch, ensures that you get more spring tension, spring force going forward, kinetic energy to strip that round off if the gun is dirty. I have 19,000, high 19,000 through my service pistol. And do I clean it all the time? No. Even though I preach clean after you shoot every time, I'm guilty as charged. However, the gun still functions. Out of those 19,000 and change rounds, the only thing I've had to do was change recoil spring assemblies out and an extractor. Same people also teach just racking the gun multiple times in order to clear it out without actually looking at the gun to see what's the problem. I say, you're in the Stone Age, pal. You have no idea what you're talking about. So now let's train to a standard here at Big Dick Ballistics. We have our gun. It's achieved slide lock. What do we have to do to get this gun up and going? Well, first of all, we got to ditch the magazine that's in the gun. So, for argument's sake, we've already ditched that magazine, and yes, this is safe, clear, and empty. No source, no live ammunition. To get this gun back up, we're putting it right here in our workspace. All right, I would even say is to go as far as right here, so I get an index off that magazine well. I come up, all right, I use my finger as an index point along the front of the magazine. Insert the magazine into the wall of the weapon firmly, all right, while it's in my workspace. And what am I going to do? I'm going to hit that magazine catch and send that round home. If for all intents and purposes I wanted to go hands-on, I could use that 4 fingers over the top method, push-pull. I don't have a Rogers device in here, so it's not going to work, but to simulate push-pull, let that slide go forward and get back into the fight. Same difference if I had to lobster claw, all right, just go over like this, charge it up. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're getting the same job done. But we want to be fast and we want to close gaps. And that's what wins gunfights. It's not the fastest shot. It's not the most accurate shot. It's the fastest accurate shot that wins the gunfight. And let alone gunfights, we want to win competitions as well. Those of you that shoot IPSC and IDPA and USPSA, this will make you faster. But whatever the situation dictates, that's what you're going to have to roll with. Now, the other side of the coin with this is one-handed reloads. All right, let's say you have your hand occupied by something else, like a flashlight. If you're carrying a firearm, you should really carry a flashlight, whether it's EDC, on duty, or not. Flashlight's always helpful. Even if you don't have a gun, you should have a flashlight on you, something small that fits in your pocket, just in case you need to get out of somewhere dark, like a movie theater, or the lights go out, you have to fix something on your car while you're driving. Whatever, it's there, you're prepared. Using the slide catch directly relates to that one-handed reload, depending on your situation. So if I'm doing any kind of low light work where I'm searching, doing what I have to do, all right, I target, I achieve slide lock, whether it be prematurely or I'm just out of ammo, guess what? I get rid of my magazine, all right? I go ahead, push this down to free up that lobster claw that I was talking about earlier. I get this magazine in, utilize that slide lock, and get back in the fight. Again, if I'm utilizing that flashlight, all I have to do is push this down, all right? I'll still maintain positive control of that flashlight. Remember, if you're getting into something crazy, your body's gonna have that fight or flight response. It's not gonna wanna drop anything. So all you have to do, that's it. I just saved you $250 on a low light course for reloads. Thanks. If I get into something and my support hand is taken out of the fight, guess what? I jettison the magazine, holster it up, I reach across, fresh magazine, insert into the well of the weapon while it's holstered up. Remember that holster is just a bucket. And again, slide catch, right? Get back in the fight, one-handed. I'm doing super duper paratrooper high speed work using a ballistic shield, whether I'm a patrol cop or SWAT cop or whatever. Get this thing out in front of me. I achieve slide lock. I gotta ditch that mag, right? You throw it in the bucket, reach across, do what I have to do to get the gun back up. And now I can rack it off here. I don't have my Rogers device in, but I'll simulate and get the gun back up in the fight. Now let's say I have some kind of like dog in my hand or Maligator, Cujo, whatever you got. Same premise, okay? I could either lobster claw this thing to get it back in the battery, or again, slide catch. Some of you are challenged when it comes to having, big proportionate hands compared to your gun size. I say it every video, I have meaty palms and short fingers. So for me, I actually physically have to break my grip a little, all right? Cant the gun just a little offset to put positive pressure on this magazine release. The same thing goes for my slide catch as well. It has to come off on an angle. I put a little distance right here in between. I kind of cage my fingers, and that's how I push this. Another method, aside from doing it with my thumb on my strong hand, I could come right over, or I have my lead in my hand. I could hit that, come on up. I could use the actual lead itself and come back up and get back into the gunfight. So it's very simple, again, but you could still do some kind of lobster claw technique with your lead, with Cujo, your Maligator, to get this thing back up. Now, as we get a little older, a little bit wiser, we change our kit up like 6,000 times in order to meet our needs. All right, we start realizing that magazine placement is very important. All right, especially in order to get our gun back up the quickest way possible. We have that workspace. We're using that slide catch, slide stop, slide release, whatever you want to call it, depending on your school of thought. All right, now let's talk about closing gaps with the magazine. So it would behoove you, depending on what you're doing, if you're having a one-handed reload, to actually keep a mag on some kind of plate carrier or your outer vest carrier in relative closeness to your handgun. So if I was doing some kind of one-handed reload, and again, I'll go back to the trusty flashlight because everybody has one of these, everybody should carry one of these, all right? I have the gun up here. Let's say I'm not comfortable doing that lobster claw technique where I push down and free up those 3 fingers to get done what I have to get done. Now, I have that magazine right here ready to go. If I'm not confident pushing this flashlight down to free up these fingers, oh my God. Again, if I'm not confident pushing this down to free up these 3 fingers, case in point, I could still stay like this, drop that magazine to the deck, throw it in the bucket or the holster, chuck it right inside that gun, bring it up, and do what I have to do. Again, do what I have to do to get the gun back up. Now, a lot of people, especially from my era going back a decade and a half ago, up on the fact of if you run into a reload situation, you achieve slide lock, whether it be premature or not, keep the thing pointed out directly in front of you. Why? To keep your perp guessing if you're still loaded or not. Bullshit, all right? We want to close gaps here and get that gun up quick. So I explain workspace to people, and they just don't get it. And this is an easy way to make them get it. This will improve your workspace reloads. It'll get you to manually do a workspace reload because you're going to take this, all right? A $3 Sharpie marker in pink rose. If you want to be fancy, whatever. But these things are awesome. Why? Because they grab your attention. So you're going to take this pink rose marker, find the inside of that magazine well, and you're just going to put a little strip right in here. You're going to do it on the same side as well, because we're humans, we're ambidextrous, all right? And when this dries, I'll actually put another coat on it. So for $3, you're getting good training material that's going to help you achieve a better reload, and I'll show you why right now. The body, the mind, it loves reference points. All right. If I put a blank target or a blank 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in front of you, legal paper, whatever, and I said put a dot perfectly in the center, it'll never really be perfectly in the center unless you practice it every day. All right. You need a reference point. You need that dot in the middle. Oh, okay, that's where I have to line up my sights, equal height, equal light, good trigger press, whatever. All right, now I gave you that reference point. So if you look, you're going to put that reference point right in front of your face, all right? You can do this with both eyes open, and you can insert that mag into the well of the weapon, all right? And you have that reference point. It grabs your eye. It's right there. You don't have to use that Sharpie paint marker. You could take your spouse's most ignorantly colored nail polish, whatever. You need something that's going to grab your eye. That way when you throw this up in between you and your threat, it's good to go. If you train properly with workspace reloads, you don't need a mag well. All right? You'll be the mag well. You'll be proficient. You'll commit it to muscle memory. This is what I think of mag wells. All right? It's just a fucking cock ring. Okay? So be proficient. Train, train, train. It's very important. This requires $3 to do workspace reloads. All right? Buy some dummy rounds. Use some empty shells. Whatever you got to do, practice. And notice how I didn't do anything under time. I don't really have to do anything under time because I've been doing it for so long. But you, on the other hand, if you want to buy a shot timer, you get an app on your phone just to see, because hitting that little button as a timer, it's not going to really do much for you. You need a metric to measure your performance. Doing any of these techniques, please, please, please get that ammo out of the magazines, put it in another room, all right? If you have a set of dedicated training mags, use those. Take one mag out of the fight, all right, render it useless, strip out that spring and that follower and that base plate, and do what you have to do, and work on these procedures. You could also get Rogers devices online for fairly cheap, but again, you have to better yourself as a responsibly armed citizen. The reason you're carrying this thing is for defense, and you can't be on the defense without being offensive. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Special shout out to Sue and Canine Shane, Vaporwake Dog, for lending me that lead to make this video. Also guys, check out BigDickBallistics.com for some fresh merch. It'll support the channel. Everything we do on here, it's for you. We're trying to grow. We're kind of shadow banned on YouTube. So please, subscribe, share with all your friends, and practice this stuff. Also check out 1791 Gun Leather, code BDB10, 10% off. American-made gun hide, Kydex for the responsible gun owner. Check out Campsite Sports Shop, located in Huntington, Long Island. If you buy anything offline, use code BDB2023. Again, BDB 2023, 5% off everything. Guns, ammo, blue label Glocks even. So that'll almost save you the tax on these things when you go to buy them. Check them out. They're a friendly gun shop, friendly FFL, a lot of good stuff there. Remember to train, support the NRA, vote the right way, be safe.